Recently, Wuthering Waves just posted this closed beta test review. So Kiro Games is saying, hey, we're listening, we're paying attention to feedback. This first part here is just talking about gratitude. Hey, thank you for playing the game. Thank you for giving feedback. So storyline, it looks like they're going to rewrite these storylines for some of the main missions and side quests. I really kind of agree with this. The side quests especially were very boring. There wasn't much going on, and the kind of like the dialogue seemed a little weird, and it was kind of like, okay, I don't know how this connects to anything. Even if it's just a side quest, it didn't feel like there was too many connections to anything else. The main stories, I would say the main story was very quick paced. I guess the pacing was a lot like kind of off. And so I feel like the connection or the bridge to a lot of different sequences can be way better. So hopefully that's kind of what they're talking about. However, I will say that I think that the dynamic between the rover and kind of the like beginning cast should say kind of similar. I think I like the idea of the MC not being like completely like trusted, I guess, in that sense. I think that's kind of a cool like avenue to explore in a lot of these games that usually just like, hey, MC, cool, you got cool powers, cool, and then they just kind of become buddies. So I kind of like that. Wuthering Waves was like, nah, we're gonna be really weary of this person because I don't know what the hell's going on. So hopefully they just kind of connect a lot of the bridges and stuff like that, make it a little bit more fleshed out as that kind of being the main plot. The next part is going to be adjusting the personalities of some characters. There were some characters, in my opinion, that just felt a little bit more generic, I guess you could say. They didn't have the best dialogue, and you could definitely tell. So it's just something that I knew was going to be kind of adjusted after the CBT. Just a lot of bridges that just aren't forming overall. I think the main story just seems to be kind of like skipping a beat, and it seems like there's a lot of like added dialogue that could be there that makes a lot more sense, I guess. Added English voice lines and improved dubbing quality. You know, I agree with this as well. The VAs were doing a pretty good job, but honestly, a lot of it was obviously not voice acted. That's just kind of come to expect in the closed beta. So honestly, the fact that they've even addressed that's really cool as well, because I imagine in like the full release of the game will have English voice lines and dubbing quality and all that different stuff. It will sound phenomenal, which is what I was saying during the closed beta test. The last one is just kind of changing some cutscene presentation. I think that for the most part, I like the cutscenes. There was only a couple times where it just seemed kind of weird because like they would either just sit there and stare at each other for a minute. It was kind of like, okay. So it's just kind of like it needed to be kind of edited or cut in a way that made it a little bit more flow line. And I think that's just kind of what they're talking about. But basically, they're just saying, hey, we're continuously working on the storyline. We're hoping to improve it. So the next one's going to be localization. So localization is just kind of making it a little bit more free flowing, a little bit more understandable in any language that it's trying to do. So like in English, they want to make it make sense, right? They don't want to just like kind of have it where it's like weird and jarring in certain places, which you could definitely tell from the reading dialogue, and the way that it was translated or the way that it was presented was not a very flow line. Like it was just kind of weird, and a lot of the words didn't really make sense to where they were. So obviously that's part of localization. So it's nice that they were just kind of like, hey, we're going to have more languages. It says here more languages will be supported in the future. We look forward to bringing our global audience a better gaming experience. So they're addressing like, yes, there was a lot of issues with text and kind of just the way that words were formed. And we're looking into that and hopefully going to be able to kind of make that a little bit more appealing, especially for native speakers in whatever language that they're trying to get. The next one is going to be game art. So it looks like a lot of people had feedback in character design, environment design, UI design issues, and more. I kind of wish they would have kept the UI design from the test where like they looked at their like little wristwatch thing and it kind of popped up the UI. I actually like that. I felt like that was a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more, I don't know, personable to that game, because I haven't seen that in like a very long time. So it's kind of like cool. So I think like it is pretty fleshed out and it is pretty clean from the UI perspective, but it looks very like, I don't want to say generic because that's kind of rude, but kind of generic. Like let's just say like the UI looks clean, but it looks like everybody else's UI. Character designs, honestly, I think they're going in a very good way with this. We've seen Chi get redesigned. She looked very phenomenal. She's like the most prominent one that I can think of. Bai also got a little bit of a touch up. Rover, the female version, got a little bit of a touch up. So you can definitely tell that they're obviously doing character design and doing very well. Environmental design, I think the environment and the atmosphere itself was actually really good, but the open world felt a very like empty at this stage. I think that, you know, that's maybe a part of the design, is just having a little bit more mobs running around, a little bit more to do, because it's like the overall environment honestly was pretty good. I like the destroyed areas. I like the different like kind of biomes that you could kind of run through. They did look very samey, but it was kind of given the vibe that, you know, they're all in this like desolate, destroyed area. So it's really cool to kind of see them flow together. I would just say more mobs and stuff like that, honestly, or just more to do as you're going through them. The next one's going to be performance. So I'm kind of in a weird, unique situation where I didn't have too many of these issues, but I also have a gaming PC and a streaming / recording PC. So I'm able to kind of like off front a bunch of stuff onto just the gaming PC and not have to worry about anything else. I know a lot of other content creators are on a single PC setup, so this is obviously going to have like frame drops and crashes and all that different stuff. I didn't have a lot of that. There was a couple times where I had a little bit of lagging, The camera follow here, which is one of the points that they mentioned, was kind of an issue for me a little bit, but that was more because like you were pressed up against a wall, a building or something like that, and you just kind of wonky, or like sometimes when you're running up like the mountainside or something like that, whenever you got to the top, it would just start kind of freaking out a little bit. So that was something that I had to deal with. But as far as like frame drops and stuff like that, I didn't have too many issues. I didn't play on the mobile, but I can only imagine that most of the time, like interface layout, they say graphics quality and frame rate customization. I think frame rate customization is huge and it should be included on pretty much anything, mobile, PC, whatever. You should be able to kind of change that because it's very taxing on any kind of device that you're playing. So being able to change that helps a tremendous amount. Obviously, interface layout is probably just going to be kind of the way that everything's kind of positioned, and mobile can get very wonky, especially when you have a ton of stuff to do. And then graphics quality, I think everybody should be able to change that depending on their system. PC, you're able to do that. But I just didn't have too many issues, so I can't really comment too much on that one. I'm kind of in a unique situation there. Gameplay, so further improve the combat experience. Honestly, the only thing that I really had issues with this, I think the combat was fine for the most part. I have an issue with some of the bosses, bro. I don't know, like Crownless was kind of the funnest boss to fight. I know funnest isn't word, but the most fun to play against because he seemed like kind of like on the same level as you, and all the other bosses seemed kind of like weird and wonky a little gimmicky or something like that. Maybe it's just because I didn't really, you know, fight many of them very often, but it just seemed kind of weird, and I just was kind of hoping to have kind of like that one-on-one presence a lot, and Crownless seemed to be the only boss that kind of brought that to me. So provide a richer ecosystem with more possibilities. I kind of like the ecosystem. I think that's kind of one of the biggest selling points for Wuthering Waves. Honestly, there's a lot of cool things you can do, a lot of combinations. So just having them kind of provide more possibilities is definitely something that I'll be very happy to see, because it seems like you just had like kind of one optimal combo for whatever element you're using, and that was just kind of it. And then you just farm the same ones and then put it on all the units that, you know, whatever element it correspond with the echoes. That's just kind of what you went with. So having more possibilities would be pretty cool. Rework the beginner tutorials. Yeah, I would say probably just because beginner tutorials, if you're not familiar with like PGR or anything like kind of like that, it could definitely be kind of just like you're thrown in because your first thing is just fighting Crownless, and it's just like, hey, by the way, here's how you parry, here's how you dodge, and then you just get rocked at the very beginning. But I kind of like that because it kind of forces you to learn at a quicker rate, but maybe that's just a personal preference. And then modulation system, stuff like that. More gameplay updates are already in the works, so they're already kind of working on this one. And then they're just kind of saying, hey, by the way, you know, keep bringing the feedback. Transparency and open communication are top priorities. We take every piece of your feedback seriously. We strive to create an open and positive Wuthering Waves global community for you all. I just hope this stays true. This line here, we strive to create an open and positive Wuthering Waves global community for you all. Please stay open. Please stay connective. Please stay communicative. Please, Kiro Games. We need to communicate. We need to be able to talk. If they're doing such a good job of just being like, hey, here's all the stuff we're working on, here's all the feedback we're taking, this is exactly what a lot of these communities want, bro. This is what we want to be able to see, so we can all make a great game. I know you guys are working hard on this game, but we also want to play a fantastic game anyway. But let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.